My name is Scott Fernandez, and I'm the creator of Roaming Gender. I want to speak on the fact that there is a lack of racial diversity in the first season. The intention of this project is to offer a platform for any and all folks to tell their stories. All races, all ethnicities, all abilities, all sexual orientations, everyone. We have been filming everyone who's applied, and there is still a lack of diversity, specifically racial. We're currently driving across the US and Canada to document as many stories as we possibly can. We encourage all folks to apply. We have absolutely no limit on the amount of people we're going to interview, and no one is going to be turned away. We want to hear everyone's story. If you don't feel safe in telling your story, we still encourage you to apply, and we can film you anonymously. Only you can tell your story, and it may be the story that somebody else really needs to hear.
We love you, and we don't even know you. We can't tell your story. Only you can.
There are times I wonder if I'm really alone. There are times I wonder if I'm true. There are times when I feel alone and I'm full roam. There are times I feel alone with you. You are enough of you. And there's always enough for you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm real or if I'm seen. I see everything. You are enough for you.
My father is white, my mother is Mexican American, and it's one of the most anxiety-ridden aspects of being upfront with my gender identity for me lately has been about my family, both sides of my family, and how they would react to me transitioning, be that transitioning to a more middle space or a masculine space. My ethnicity in congruence with my gender, for me personally, because I come from a mixed background, it was pretty interesting to realize that binaries have such an important part in my life in a way that's not necessarily always easy. White, Chicano, male, female. In almost every aspect of my life, find myself in the middle of a lot of spaces. And then even Chicano is a blended space of its own, so I'm a mixed bag of everything, of emotions, of identities.
I carry a lot of privilege with being transmasculine and being white. I think the biggest thing that comes to my mind whenever taking on the burden of masculinity is whenever I was identifying as a trans man and thinking of the transitions and if my body could even take on those transitions. So if ever I were to have biomedical intervention, I would quote unquote pass pretty quickly, most likely. Give me 6 months, and I will just become another white guy. And I can't be that man.
I think that as far as my race and where I was brought up and everything, I have it as easy as it can get when it comes to being homosexual. And my race, I'm just average white person that was middle class is how I've grown up, and so I haven't had to even think about the conflict of those two because I think I'm privileged in some senses that way.
I have white male guilt. I have a lot of awareness of the space that I'm occupying in society. So I am probably overly cautious of how I interact with women, children, and especially people of color. And that's really as much I can say about that.
My race and ethnicity play into my gender, I suppose, in the way that I'm from Miami and my whole family is Cuban, and we have, well, I feel like I have a fairly curvy body, and it's definitely like a female form. And it's something that I've never felt comfortable with. I have like the exact same body as my mom, so I've always had a bit of like a love-hate relationship with my body, because I feel like if I'm like ashamed of my body, then I'm somehow like not grateful of what was given to me by my mom in a way. My whole life really being in Miami, it's a huge Latin influence there, and people typically, if they were to get any kind of top surgery, it would be to increase the size of their breasts. So I always felt very strange wanting smaller breasts. It's sort of played into each other without me even being aware of it. Like I always had some sort of shame around being Hispanic growing up, because I thought that I just wanted to be like a white person. And now that I'm getting older, I'm realizing that that's not so much what it is. It's like I was ashamed of my shape. I feel like I get a lot of attention for the shape of my body that make me like, oh, this is what makes me feel validated. This is what makes people give me attention, and like this is what makes people notice me. So if I change that, I'm gonna be like ugly or invisible, or no one will find me attractive anymore. So it's sort of this like, because of the world I grew up in, I felt like I was always seen as like a sexual object. That's where my value comes from, subconsciously at least. So to stand up for what I want and like change my shape to a more masculine build, I feel like I would never really feel comfortable going home and living in like a very like Latin influenced place where they are very aware of the shape of the female body. And I don't know, but that's definitely how I feel about the Hispanic culture that I'm a part of.
A little bit of the white privilege, not having to think about it in that way, and I recognize that.
I feel like being white affords me a lot of privilege, regardless of my gender identity.
I think they all interact. I mean, there's so much privilege just in having white skin, that I even get to spend as much time as I do thinking about the other pieces of it, like gender identity and size and health and all those sorts of things, because I don't have that instant barrier of race that comes up or having to deal with that.
Check out our new merch collaboration with Tomboy Society. They're donating 50% of the proceeds from all Roaming Gender apparel to the project. Don't forget to subscribe in order to catch the next Roaming Gender episode. The intention of Roaming Gender is to offer a platform for any and all folks to share their story on the intersectionality of their gender, race, class, ability, sexual orientation, religion, age, and nationality. If you're looking to get involved, donate, or be interviewed for Roaming Gender, visit us at www.roaminggender.com.